Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as you all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Nope. My name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your co-host. I'm the co-host from the East Coast. It's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A Views, conservative news. Craig, it's a special day.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. Rain tacos. Out in the street. Tacos. All you can eat. Lettuce and shells. Cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a dream.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Always want to keep going. I know the whole song. Yeah. It's
Gotta love that song. Gotta love that song, folks. By the way, Mike, just so you know, the people do hear you singing. So just...
Oh, that's why I do it. That's why I do it. That's why I do it. Yeah, absolutely.
It is hilarious. It is hilarious. I am not much of a singer, so therefore I do not try. Well, not often anyway.
I've heard you sing in the bathroom before.
Oh no, you've never heard me sing in the bathroom. You may have heard that I sing in the bathroom, but you've never heard me sing in the bathroom.
Yeah, it was something about something to the great white porcelain god or something like that. I don't remember what the words exactly, but yeah,
No. I never consume.
It may have been more of a chant. Now that I think
anything
about
to
it,
be,
it may have been
to be
more of a
going
chant.
there.
Yeah, it might be more of a chant. Yeah, you're right. I think might have been
More of a chant.
Might have been more chanting. Yeah. Yep.
Well, sometimes on Taco Tuesdays, the tacos don't go so well.
Yeah. You get a bad food truck that runs when the inspectors show up. Yeah, you might be in there. Yeah.
you might most definitely might be in there. Might be in there. Any special plans for tacos today?
Dinner tonight. I think I found some ribeye steaks in the freezer the other day, and I think I'm gonna dice those up and make some nice, really good steak tacos with them for dinner tonight.
Well, for some reason I have no idea why, but I am in the mood for just some like Del Taco tacos. The American tacos.
From like Taco Bell.
No, Del Taco. It's a restaurant.
Oh, Del Taco. Yes. No, we have Del Taco here as well. Yes. Yeah, listen, Del Taco makes a really good street taco.
Oh yeah, their Taco Tuesday deals are phenomenal.
Yeah.
You can get a whole bunch of tacos for almost nothing. And it's also, good for cleaning out the innards, cleaning your colon.
Yeah. Our Del Taco is right across the street from the University of Central Florida, so they know what they're doing. Yeah.
It is good late night, for lack of a better term, it's good late night drunk food.
Yes, better than the other taco place, the one that is the phone company, as I like to call them, the Mexican phone company. Yeah. Taco Bell.
They're diversifying. They do tacos, yes. They do phones.
Yep. That's right.
They're out of the phone business now, though, so they just do tacos and gorditas.
Yeah. Gorditas. Oh, yeah. Listen, man, I could go on forever.
Chalupas.
Last time
I did not know. Are those real
Dallas,
things? I mean, are chalupas and gorditas, those are not Mexican things, right?
Listen, when I was in Texas for the helicopter expo a couple months back, I ordered a gordita. And Craig, I ordered another one because I wanted to take it home and show everybody. It was just like, and then I ate it. It was, I was like, I'll just take a picture, rather than bring it home. And it was incredible. It was the best one I'd ever had. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Before we get into the news stories, let's let folks know about our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hey to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. Hitmanindustries.net. If you've got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, odds are you probably already have one of their barrels, but now they're selling direct to the public, so you can get your own for your own AR build. So reach out to hitmanindustries.net. You have the California Republican Assembly fighting the good fight behind the enemy lines. Make sure you reach out and wave hello at them with your dollar bills. And then, of course, if you need awesome tactical gear, go to uscombatgear.com.
Yes. Folks, remember the links to all of their websites are in the description to this program. So all you got to do is click on it, check them out. If you like what you see, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them the guys over at The Rundown sent you. Also, please take a moment, like, share, subscribe, however you are partaking of the program. Please take a moment and share the program with folks throughout your social media, throughout your interwebber nets, or, hey, just give some folks a call and say, hey, you need to watch The Rundown. But we're trying to grow our audience, and the only way we do that is, well, quite frankly, by you guys saying something, because we know the algorithms, they're working against us. So do us a favor, let your friends know if you enjoyed the program, let them know that they will enjoy the program also.
And if they don't, make them watch it anyway.
Make them watch it anyway. Exactly.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. All right, so our first story here today. We know that when they went after Donald Trump from day one, we know they were going after Donald Trump. And the Russian collusion thing lasted all 4 years of his presidency. Well, now that he is no longer president, and we now know that the actual Russian collusion was between the Democratic Party, the FBI, and the Russians. Now that we know, though, that's the real Russian collusion. Oh, and the mainstream media, can't forget them. Now that we know that that was the real Russian collusion, now all of a sudden with January 6th, there's a whole new investigation, and we are now well over a year and almost 3/4 since January 6th, and the investigation is only picking up steam. Now, mind you, so far, nobody's been found guilty. Well, let me clarify. The people who went into the Capitol, some of which destroyed property, some of the people, even both on the inside and the outside, who attacked officers, many of them have been, or several of them have been convicted. But in terms of the conspiracy to overthrow the election, yeah, so far nobody's been convicted of anything. There's basically, it's so far turned out to be a big nothing burger. Well, last week, that nothing burger manifested into over 30 Trump associates being subpoenaed by a grand jury over alleged efforts to influence the 2020 election results. Now, notice that they're changing their term. They're not saying overturn the 2020 election. They're saying influence the election results. Now, mind you, a grand jury is nothing more than a prosecutor who's basically they impanel a grand jury, and then they just throw mud against the wall, hoping that it will eventually stick. And that's exactly what's going on here. They are going after staffers. They are going after consultants. They are going after everybody who might be even closely related to or even mildly related to Donald Trump and during the time of January 6th and prior to that. And Mike, that's why I'm wondering. I was torn when it came to titling this particular segment, because I didn't know whether I wanted to call it, Will the Prosecution Ever End? Or Will the Persecution Ever End?
Yes, no, I agree with you. Listen, folks, there's an old saying about grand juries that a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. A grand jury is one-sided. It's the prosecution putting on the case. There is no defense. There is no defense witnesses. It's one-sided, one person's view, and that's what you get. And that's why the saying is a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. That's clearly what's going on here. They believe that they can scare and threaten and perhaps convince others to testify against the former president. Based on these grand jury scare tactics. And like you said, Craig, it's going to continue, and they're always going to try something different. Like, hell, Craig, I don't know what's next, serving warrants at his house in the middle of the morning. I have no idea.
Well, but see, now the timing of this is interesting, because remember the warrant, right? The warrant was, it was supposed to all be about the documents, right? The documents, the classified documents that he had in his possession. But now all of a sudden we're noticing that all of these subpoenas were issued afterwards, after the DOJ has had weeks to go through the stuff that they collected. Now, mind you, they did not just collect confidential documents. They collected a whole bunch of stuff. And it said anything that could potentially You tie him to any criminal investigation. And I think they're going through the stuff that they confiscated, and they're like, oh, well, we got to question these people. We got to question these people, and not so much that they found anything significant or anything that proves anything, but they found enough to be able to prolong the news cycle relating to Donald Trump being investigated leading up to the midterm election. Now, mind you, keep in mind, the Republicans were told, I mean, the poll results, I forget what they call it, but it's the poll where they say, well, the blind poll, whether or not people will vote Republican or Democrat. Republicans prior to Mar-a-Lago were like, it was Republican plus 12. Now it's down to Republican plus 4. And all of this is about making this election about Donald Trump.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I trust polls as much as I trust Hillary Clinton. Okay. We know how that works. Everything that we've seen, everything that I've been following shows that after the Mar-a-Lago, it's just, again, like you and I have said it many times in there, it's strengthened him. It's what's the analogy, Craig? It's like shooting cans of spinach at Popeye. All right. You're just making this guy stronger.
It has definitely made his base stronger, right? It's definitely made his support base stronger. The only people that it's raised questions with are people who are on the fence. And what's happening is, here's what I believe is happening. I believe that people are going both ways. There's some who are like, this is a little too shady. I don't know if I want to go that direction. And then you've got people who are like, yeah, this doesn't look good because clearly this is political prosecution. And I believe more people are breaking towards this is political prosecution or political persecution than are breaking the other way. But I think you're starting to see the undivideds or the undecideds starting to break. Most of them, I believe, are breaking towards Donald Trump and Republicans.
Yes, yeah. And I even saw a lot of them over here, that look in Florida that were looking at perhaps Governor DeSantis to run for president. And many of them have said, listen, I was going to vote for DeSantis, but now I'm back on the Trump train. They can't do this. We're not going to let them do this.
No, exactly. And I think that's what you're starting to see. And it's going to be very, very interesting coming up to the election, because the other thing that I find quite interesting and no one is really talking about is you have the president of the United States giving a primetime speech talking about the ultra MAGA Republicans are a threat to our democracy, yet billions of dollars were spent, not billions, billions or millions of dollars were spent by members of his political party in order to get ultra MAGA Republicans on the general election ballot.
Right.
Which is it? Why would you? Because think about it. Think about this, Mike. If Adolf Hitler were on the ballot, right, and you knew that if he made it to the general election, there's a chance that Adolf Hitler could get elected, would you take a chance on him potentially winning and helping him to get on the general election ballot? I mean, what idiot would do that? Oh, I forgot. Right. The Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's so typical, Craig. It's like they're playing checkers while everybody else is playing chess. Watching the game that they're playing. The short distance gains. As they continue to add to, the base and the power on the conservative side. It's just, it's hard to watch and yet comical to watch at the same time.
Well, it's largely because they are out of touch with the average American. I mean, this is the reality of it. The reality of it all is they're completely 100% out of touch with the average person, and that's why the Republican Party has become the party of the average everyday guy and gal, the working man's party, the working person's party, because we just seem to have a little bit more understanding of what the average person thinks in common sense.
Yeah, and listen, and we know that the fair share of them suffer from TDS, but I believe, like you said, there's those fence sitters even on the left side, Craig, that have said, you can't serve a warrant on the man's house for doing something while he was president. What are you doing? You can't. We don't do this here. This is not third world country. You don't do that here. And I think plenty of them have stepped out as well.
Exactly.
Craig, now I know before we're jumping into the next story, but while we've been on air here, somebody sent me speaking of documents and paperwork, the warrant from Mar-a-Lago. So we've got that for the end of the program.
Oh, okay. Well, we will make sure to go ahead and we will make sure that the warrant, just so you guys get a chance to actually see the warrant in its full redacted form. You'll get a chance to take a look at it. All right, but we're going to move on right now. Okay, so right now in California, and you may not be aware of this, well, of course you are. California has legalized marijuana. And much like in other states, the whole point of legalizing marijuana was the idea that it would end the mass incarceration of men of color, that it would lead to more tax revenue, that we would be bringing in tons of money in taxes, there would be less crime relating to it, all of that. That was all how we were sold on the idea of legalizing marijuana. Well, the LA Times put together a piece, and we have a snippet of it for you here at the California Republican Assembly. But it talks about the reality of legal weed in California. And the reality of legal weed in California is huge illegal grows, violence, worker exploitation, deaths, and the other thing that they don't really include here is environmental destruction. When I say destruction, Mike, I'm not talking, we're not talking carbon emission crap. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about like chemicals and pesticides being put into people's drinking water. We're talking waters and rivers being diverted in order to put water into these fields. Mike, the funny part about it was that I said this, and I said this early on. Even before it passed, I said, what's going to happen is this. With all of the taxes and all the regulations that they put on legal marijuana grows, they're going to make it so expensive that people are just going to continue to buy it from illegal sources. Because guess what? It's not illegal to buy it from an illegal source. It's just illegal to sell it. So people are going to they're still going to get it from the same person they were getting it from before. And that person, it's going to wind up increasing. And that's, by the way, what it's done. It's actually increased the market for illegal marijuana in the state of California.
Yeah, and it's probably, I'm betting, changed the category of the crime too. Whereas before it was a, criminal offense for sale and distribution of narcotics. Now it's probably like avoiding tax laws. Like when you used to sell, you'd see people sell stolen cigarettes without the tax stamp on the seal, that kind of thing. So they're probably not been discouraged to sell the illegal narcotics as well. There's a lot of stuff, Craig. Look, obviously you have your environmental concerns going on there with everything. You have your crime rate going on there. It's not just California. Listen, Colorado was one of the first states, not being Alaska or something like that, the first in the continental here that authorized the sale or passed the sale of legal, personal use marijuana, and it's gone completely sideways there as well. So, I mean, Californians will start seeing the same things. The crime rate's gone up. Like you said, there's continued to be, smuggling with Mexico, even with China, where these drugs are coming from. You have this was one that I guess nobody expected, except for those that opposed it. The suicide rate amongst teens over the last 5 years has skyrocketed. Thanks to the use of marijuana is what they're finding in their systems after they commit suicide. The crime rate again gone up, and ironically, what they said was with reduced crime amongst minorities, it's actually resulted in increased crime, drug crimes in minorities. So everything that was promised that you would get, including where the tax money is going to go, right, is all been a lie.
Well, the tax dollars have not manifested. In fact, there's such a proliferation in illegal grows that it's caused a crash in the wholesale market because, the average person is just not going to go buy. They're buying it, once again, buying it where they always bought it. Violent crime is huge because now at these illegal grows, you've got people there. These are armed folks who are out at these grows, right? Yes. You've got people who are basically protecting their investment.
Yes.
And like I said, and one of the differences between Colorado and California was Colorado didn't put the significant level of regulation on the industry the way they did here
Right.
in California, which basically significantly drove up the cost of legal marijuana. And you know, the thing that gets me the most, this is the one thing I will say about the LA Times piece that really bothered me, was they act as if, well, gee, how could this happen? Who would have guessed this would happen? But it's exactly what every person who opposed this measure told them would happen. It is exactly. I mean, there is nothing that is happening right now that was not already predicted. But yet and still they act like, well, who would have known?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Scooby-Doo whodunit. Yep.
Well, I don't know, Rugi. Who would have done this? I mean, but that's... Anyway, it is asinine, and it is obviously asinine. We knew it would happen. We said it would happen, and now here it is.
Can we all agree Shaggy was high pretty much all the time?
Oh, yeah. And I just want to know, what was in those Scooby snacks?
Listen, this guy was always paranoid, always had the munchies, always riding around in the back of his friend's van. That guy was hitting it.
I think there was little to no doubt that Shaggy was Shaggy.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. This is a fun one. All right. So after receiving I think now Washington, D.C. has a total of about 10,000, and they keep calling them migrants, but they're immigrants, right? These are illegal immigrants. These are people who have entered the country illegally, but they have about 10,000 immigrants who have crossed into our country, contrary to our laws. About 10,000 of them have been sent to Washington, D.C. from Arizona and Texas. Now, mind you, there are at least a couple of 100,000 every month that come through Texas and Arizona right now. At least a couple of 100,000 every month. 10,000 is less than what happens in a day or two in southern states. You had Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., declare an emergency. We have an emergency, calling it a national tragedy, right, of what's going on there. Well, border sheriffs. Now, mind you, these are the sheriffs who are in the towns that have to deal with this on a daily basis. They are slamming Mayor Bowser. I mean, it is embarrassing, some of the things, Mike, that they are saying about Ms. Bowser and her, how shall we say, her declaring of an emergency. But the only thing I don't like about it, Mike, is that they're only focusing on her, because she's not the only one crying foul. You also got Beetlejuice over there in Chicago, who's doing the same, as well as Eric Adams in New York, all making the same exact claims.
You know, I'm looking at some of the comments here from the sheriffs down there in these border towns. It says it was a great ploy by Governor Abbott to bring attention back to something that is kind of fading away from mainstream media. He's put it back in their lap, and I applaud him for what he's done. So even you've got the border sheriffs down there who are in need of real services, unlike Mayor Bowser, who's requesting, the National Guard multiple times now because her sanctuary city can't handle the influx of the immigrants there. So it's they're spreading their love. These sheriffs down there are spreading their love to all these different places. They're to New York, to Chicago, to DC. I hear the Pacific Northwest is next. That Portland and Seattle might be getting their next couple of busloads. So they need to tighten up as well with their sanctuary status.
Oh yeah, well here's the one I love. This one is from another guy. It says, we finally have cities and communities that are experiencing real pain, real suffering, and they want to blame someone else. Well, they should pick up the phone and dial the president and dial the White House, talk to the president. That's who owns that's who owns the policy. That's whose policy it is, and that's what's directing the surge. Now, mind you, here's what's a trip. And what's a trip to me about this is, keep in mind, these are sanctuary cities. These are places who have said, we welcome the undocumented. We will provide you with food and shelter and education and health care because we believe these are fundamental rights. So all Texas and Arizona are doing is taking them up at their word. And what's funny is you get the slightest little few people and you can't handle it. But you want you want the border states to have to deal with this stuff. Get out of here. And by the way,
absolutely right. Yeah.
By the way, the mayor of Chicago is actually shipping them out to suburbs there out of the city of Chicago into suburbs. So they're putting them on buses and sending them away.
Right. Isn't it great? She's criticizing them for sending them on buses and sending them to her, putting them on buses and sending them to her. And then they get there and they have giant media events that we welcome you. And then they're putting them on buses and sending them elsewhere. It's just
funny how that works, huh?
What a hypocrite! What a piece of crap that she is. Oh, hey, Craig. By the way, before we jump into the next story, when you hear the name of the DC mayor, does the theme from Sha Na Na go through your head?
Yes, it does. Okay. Now that you mention it.
Every time I hear her name, I get Yep.
Yes, it very much does.
Yep.
You have won me over on that one.
Yep.
All right, moving right along. All right, this one is it's one thing to do something stupid once, right? I mean, we all do something stupid one time, but hopefully we learn from our mistakes. Well, apparently one of the members of the squad, has not learned from her mistake. Pramila Jayapal or Representative PayPal. Representative PayPal. During a tweet on 9/11, decided to put out and talk about the number of people who suffered or the number of deaths that were included in 9/11. Well, here was the problem. She happened to include the terrorists in the death toll for 9/11. And the problem is, this is the second year in a row she did it, right? So what tells me is they had the talking points for 9/11 and they probably recycled what they used last year and realized, oops, we weren't supposed to use those numbers again. That's an old number. But Mike, what gets me about this is nothing new. I mean, when we talk about gun violence, do they or do they not? Groups like Everytown and the Giffords Law Center, do they or do they not include in their numbers of people who have died as a result of gun violence? Do they or do they not include the perpetrators of the crime who may have been killed by law enforcement or by an armed citizen?
Yeah, like justifiable homicides. They include that in their numbers. Those are instances of when it's been declared a self-defense issue either with civilians or with law enforcement in their defense of the community. They absolutely include those numbers in there. As well, Craig, they count numbers like, all right, let's see, there was one guy who did a shooting and 2 people were shot. That makes it 3 people. It's another mass shooting. They use all that math that they can. If there's multiple media reports from different sources of the same incident, they'll count them multiple times. They do anything they can to fluff their numbers to try and shock the conscience of the viewer.
Trying to fluff the numbers.
Yes, that's what they do. It's like their resumes too,
Exactly. That is, by the way, exactly what they do. But once again, this is, keep in mind, don't ever doubt that in her mind, those terrorists, the people who killed all those people in 9/11, to her, they are victims.
Listen, and it's the number, the official number from that day, from September 11th, and those that died as a result of direct wounds from that day is 2,977. 2,977. She includes the terrorists and bumps the number to 2,996. I do want to say, Craig, and I'm sure you know it as well, and just for those out there, when you're arguing this point, when the left gives you, there was only 2,977 killed that day, there's at least 100 a year that die from cancers and other illnesses that they may have received at the 9/11 site, having to deal with all of the compounds and chemicals ingested and brought into their lungs and into their systems.
You
It's
beat
at
me to
least
the punch
100
on
a year,
that one.
number.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch on that one because I was just about to say that there are still people
Yeah.
to this day who are suffering as
Yeah.
a result of 9/11. Some emotionally, but also most definitely there are some physically who are still dealing with it. So anyway.
I honestly believe we'll get to a point where the number that died from will become larger than the number that died that day.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that one bit.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our parting shots today, and both of them are actually Trump related.
Woohoo!
The first one, this was actually, now we talked about this. Mike was actually able to get us a copy of the actual FBI warrant. Now, this is the fully redacted warrant from Merrick Garland, and well, here it is.
Yeah.
You want to describe
it's a little
this one for
light,
him, Mike?
It's a little light. You could see here. It has the entire text of the warrant is blacked out, except up at the top it says orange, and in the middle the word man is there, and in the bottom it's bad. So the only thing left of the entire redacted is orange, man, bad. It's handwritten. It says FBI warrant on the top left, and the top right it says Mar-a-Lago. And what's it say under Mar-a-Lago, Craig?
Bad man, and I can't
Correct.
read that other part. Hideout. Bad man.
Bad
hideout.
man hideout. It's the bad man hideout. Bad man orange, and it's signed Merrick Garland.
And it is signed Merrick Garland. You know what's interesting? What also gets me about this, Mike, is this is how much. I mean, when you consider that here we are, Donald Trump has not been president for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And yet he is still their main talking point. Even CNN, MSNBC, when Donald Trump was no longer president, their ratings cratered. It's funny because what it tells me is, and by the way, the very fact that they believe that amongst their people, that the way in which to keep their people from voting against them is not to talk about issues, not to talk about their record, but to keep bringing up Donald Trump. And that is for this very reason, Mike. It is because Donald Trump is living in their head.
Rent-free, folks.
Rent-free. For those of you
and he's
who
not
are
just living, he's living large.
He's chilling. He's got the easy. So for those of you who are listening to the program, it's a picture of a Democrat, or I'm sorry, a donkey or a jackass, whichever, all the same difference. The Democrat-elect, a politician, and it's a image inside of his brain, right? Inside of his mind. And there you have Donald Trump in a lazy boy chair, leaning back, kicking back, chilling with a sign that says rent-free, which basically means he's living rent-free in their heads.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Living large, rent-free. It's great to see, Craig, that he's doing it. Listen, he doesn't have to pay for campaign money. They put his name out there every day. They're so obsessed with this guy that they're it's top of every thought for them. Craig, I saw a recent a little analysis. Somebody was talking about it, and it said, you'll always remember the day like when Donald Trump gets reelected, because that's the day gas prices drop to $1.25 again. It's good. It's amazing. Listen, the power this guy yields in his policies alone, every company out there is going to go, boom, done. All right, yeah, put it back to here. Put those gas. They're going to go back to pre-Biden prices, because they know if they don't, this guy's going to drag them through mud on TV. Oh, I heard Harley was going to move their camp to Mexico. I don't think so. And then the next day, remember, Harley stood up as a proud American motorcycle manufacturer.
Right.
The guy's got a way about him.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. All right, sir. Well, it's about that time. Let's give the quick shout out on our way out.
Yep. Let's say goodbye to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. Go there, get yourself some barrels and some parts. The California Republican Assembly, please be sure to visit them and assist them in any way you can. And of course, if you want some great combat gear, go to uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Once again, links in the description of the program. Visit them, spend some money, tell them we sent you. And with that, we're going to call it a day. It's been a wonderful day. I've got some tacos calling my name. But tomorrow we will be back on what will also be a very special day. And what's that day called again, Mike?
Hump Day.
Hump Day. See you then.